Dinarland from IQDCalls chat, my ladies, WSOMN, TNT and more. First up at IQDCalls chat room. From Trapper, President O only has a couple more days if he wants this to happen on his watch. Somehow I think it won't be on his watch. I truthfully don't think the ideas I'm hearing about ZIM rates at 1-to-1 against the US dollar can be viable at all. Give us 10 cents for our ZIM and us and our children will live like kings for many generations. What are others hearing or thinking some of the real rates might come out at? Yeah, I like all of you, have visions of cigar plums dancing in my head as I consider the goofy rates, but I just want to know what those real rates, or whereabouts those rates might be, so I can come back down to earth and make some realist plans into the future. I'd like to hear your thoughts on where these different currencies might land. I'll take that back about 1 American dime per ZIM dollar. If I get 1 cent per ZIM dollar, one of my 50 trillion ZIM notes would give me 50 billion US dollars. Friends, these kinds of rates are outright kooky. I think it smells of someone smoking some kind of funny plants or something. If you get $1 US per ZIM, you can take 1/2 of your profit, which you'll pay in taxes anyway, and single-handedly wipe out the US national debt. They say never, well I'll go out on a limb here, and it's a pretty strong limb and say, we are never going to our ZIM notes on par with the American greenback. Hope I didn't ruin the party. From Ash Williams, I'm glad to see I'm not the only one that thinks these ZIM rates we have been hearing about are just plain old kooky. So far we can't even exchange for a good rate on dinar, let alone a long shot like the ZIM. From JC, why taking back Mosul may take some time. 4 months into the Mosul operation, the Iraqi forces say they control nearly all of the city's eastern half, but another wave of intense IS resistance likely awaits them in Mosul's west. The western half of the city is home to some of Mosul's oldest neighborhoods, with narrow streets that will further complicate the urban fight. Also, the United Nations estimates that more than 700,000 people are trapped there, living under siege-like conditions. Give me 10 cents for the dinar and I will be long gone. Next up from my ladies. What is IBAN? IBAN is an international bank account number. That is all it is, and not every country that does business internationally is required to have one. For instance, the USA does not require one, but some countries do in addition to a SWIFT or BIC number. Now you can add Iraq to this list, but still this has absolutely nothing to do with currency. Money will not be flowing into Iraq on the IBAN. It is not the IBAN and it is not a means of carrying money. IT is simply just another accounting system and it is not a precursor to any so-called RV. Now from Islandy 1211. Article, CBI News Press, delay of project to delete the 3 zeros. The acting gov of the CBI announced today that he has to again delay the RV. Abadi had hoped to liberate Mosul in 3 months' time, from October to December 31st. Alec had also hoped to RV in the beginning of this year, after delaying it 3 times in previous years. Alec doesn't specifically state that he is waiting for ISIS to be gone, for he also has to get everything done for the monetary reform. So, it isn't clear what is delaying the RV. He states today that he isn't even projecting a date. Also, he can't say. More from Islandy 1211. East Mosul is about 80% liberated. The rest of East Mosul shouldn't be a problem. At that point, Mosul would only be 50% liberated, while the other half would not even be staged. Don't be confused by articles stating that the center of Mosul is secure, because it's only half of circle with the river cutting through it. West Mosul is a separate battle. But, up to now, the Pentagon and the CBI have told us everything that they are doing, and right now they are looking at needing a few more months to get both Mosul and the RV done. I've always been of the opinion that the RV would happen in the month of April, so hopefully enough progress will be made by then. In any case, both ISIS and the sanctioned dinar rate will be gone in 2017. At WSOMN. From Angel, Davos 2017, aristocrats face the pitchforks. The disconnect between the Davos community, among the principal beneficiaries of globalization, and the rest of the world is striking. By Gerard Baker. If the highly integrated, early 21st century global economy had an aristocracy, it would be roughly the group of people who gather this week in the Swiss mountain resort of Davos. There, the heads of governments, central bankers, chief executives of major banks and global corporations, leading academics, the gorgeous media and entertainment stars, meet each January to survey the global landscape they have constructed and ruled to discuss how to improve it. This year, the aristocracy that comes to Switzerland might, if it is sufficiently sentient, begin to feel uncomfortable parallels with the condition in which its equally well-heeled forebears found themselves in late 18th century France or early 20th century Russia. The tide of populist anger that swept the major economies in 2016, highlighted by the British vote to leave the European Union and the election of Donald Trump in the US, marked also by rising support for nationalist parties and anti-establishment causes elsewhere in the developed world, is lapping at the elegantly appointed front door of WSOMN. The World Economic Forum, under whose auspices the Davos crowd meets, does its best to play down the elite nature of this week's gathering, frowning on some of the more ostentatious sybaritic displays and encouraging earnest dialogue about the responsibilities rather than the privileges of being among life's winners. But the champagne will still be poured and the caviar devoured almost as copiously as at Versailles in the 1780s or in the Winter Palace in the early 1900s. The bells are tolling now as loudly as they ever have for the world's globalist leadership, and if there is one institution and one set of people that most neatly represents the target of so much anger and nationalist fervor, it is Davos itself. Davos isn't merely a place or a group of people, as it is an idea, a very successful idea, indeed the dominant idea of the 25 years since the end of the Cold War. Its essence is that the world is one great market, opportunity, and polity. That barriers to global economic activity should be removed, that national borders and national sentiment and national sovereignty need to be subordinated to global and supranational institutions, that in the face of challenges such as climate change and global poverty and disease, the nation-state is not only powerless but actually a dangerous impediment to progress. The Davos community has been no coincidence among some of the principal beneficiaries of this idea. Supranational institutions such as the European Union and the United Nations, and indeed the WEF itself, multinational companies that have gained enormous financial advantage from shifting production south and east to low-cost emerging markets. Bankers who have fed off this globalization and helped fuel it with fat fees for investment, deals, and trading. A cultural leadership in the academy, the arts, the media, and entertainment that is on a permanent global circuit and migrates seasonally between New York, St. Bart's, London and St. Moritz. The disconnect between this fraternity and the rest of the world is striking. These are Americans, Britons, French, Chinese, Indians, who have far more in common with each other than they have with their less globally adroit compatriots back home in Wisconsin, Lincolnshire, the Pas-de-Calais, Chongqing, or Gujarat. And this is the core of the problem. The Davos idea has worked brilliantly for these deracinated globe-trotting leaders. But for those left back home less well-educated, with less access to resources that are needed for success in a flattened economic landscape, the net benefits aren't apparent. Globalization has surely helped the world economy grow rapidly in the last quarter century and has lifted out of poverty hundreds of millions of people. But for many, especially in the traditional West, the costs have been heavy. And for many people everywhere, the elevation of global as opposed to national solidarity just doesn't resonate. In the age of terror especially, national borders look less like frustrating barriers to travel and trade and more like secure protection against unfathomable menace. The question for the Davos leadership this year is twofold: will they continue to dismiss and deride voters who want to maintain or restore those borders as racist, xenophobic or even neo-fascist? Or do they at least want to try to acknowledge the legitimacy of national sentiment over globalist ideology? And second, what, if anything, do they intend to do about it? The history of aristocracies has mostly ended unhappily. If the Davos crowd doesn't begin to answer these questions in 2017, the best they may be able to hope for is a less violent, less terminal, but ultimately no less significant modern-day version of what happened to the Bourbons or the Romanovs. From Angel, the question for the Davos leadership this year is twofold. Will they continue to dismiss and deride voters who want to maintain or restore those borders as racist, xenophobic or even neo-fascist? Or do they at least want to try to acknowledge the legitimacy of national sentiment over globalist ideology? And second, what, if anything, do they intend to do about it? The history of aristocracies has mostly ended unhappily. If the Davos crowd doesn't begin to answer these questions in 2017, the best they may be able to hope for is a less violent, less terminal, but ultimately no less significant modern-day version of what happened to the Bourbons or the Romanovs. I imagine that they had better get this GCR done ASAP. People are tired world over of these greedy, immoral people that have sucked the world dry of its natural resources, i.e. gold, diamonds, other precious stones, oil, etc., and have funneled monies to themselves, family members and friends. I say, yes, it's time to get out the pitchforks. From Bill Holter, new update: paper currencies approaching their real value -0. At TNT. From Lilipad, MO, this delay will be short, definitely not cancelled. Notice the last sentence in the article from Alec. Continual technical preparation. Central bank, deletion of zeros from the currency deferred for the time being. The Central Bank of Iraq, that there is full control of the Iraqi dinar, revealing that the deletion of zeros from the currency, deferred for the time being. The governor of the bank on the keywords in a press statement, that, the rumors about the Iraqi dinar at risk and prone to degradation and decline in comparison with other currencies as dollar, is not true, adding that, misatrally dinar fully and that in progress. He added that, the bank operates in accordance with the monetary and fiscal policies which are managed accurately and feminization, and that the issue of preservation of the Iraqi dinar of the priorities of his interest, but it's at the heart of his work. And on the application of the process of deleting the zeros of the Iraqi currency, keywords, said that, the Iraqi Central Bank did not specify a date for the deletion of zeros from the currency dinar, noting that, subject to availability of appropriate conditions, including the general stability in the country. He stressed, the central bank governor, the need to ensure the success of the process of deleting the zeros requirements before starting out, so the central bank will continue technical preparations in order to be practical fit when deciding deletion. Link. From AQBucks, great article. Thanks Lilipad. Again, vague in when the timing is right for the world to be told that the IQD and the rest of the revalued currencies will be launched to the world. From Lilipad, yes, we all have to relate back to the China and Kuwait, not gonna happen, and then boom. From Aram, ECU, and what do you think about the no deletion of the zeros? That would mean no increase on the purchasing power of the Iraquis. From AQBucks, guys, I've been traveling. Has anyone at TNT mentioned the magnificent news from the end of last week that the new USN symbol has been placed in the Forex trading platforms? Bingo. As my old friend Firefly used to quote. From Gale Reserve, AQBucks, I had read elsewhere about the USN, this is huge. Just an acknowledgement of the USN. All is coming together. Go RV. Thanks AQBucks. From AQBucks, Gale Reserve, huge is right. From OK Rocks, yes. The USN on Forex is the best news, even better than budget in Gazette MO, but all sure shows the end of road 2 on this ride. From AQBucks, bingo. We in here look for way too much news about Iraq when this is a global reset. Iraq is just the news barometer to show a window of when. That's it. This RV is not based on when Mosul is to be liberated to the world, but when the world governments are ready to release Mosul and its liberation. The new USN notes are huge, folks. The USA is announcing to the financial world governments that we are asset-backed and have a currency ready to trade that isn't fiat-based. Huge. From Dalred123, maybe I'm not looking in the right spot, but my Forex is still the same. From AQBucks, upper platforms of trading is what I'm understanding. Sovereign levels. No rate as of yet, but it is in placement also may be showing as TRN as well. From Body Man, I have to agree that USN is important as well as the statement that the CBI is in full control of their currency. Haystack, GM all. Just my IMO, we should look at the Iraq RV just like Kuwait. They said it's not going to happen, then boom, it was done. I for one don't like speculating about it being done. Just want to hear the 800 number for appointment. That's it for now. Don't hate on us for bringing Dinarland talk to you. Give us a thumbs up on our videos and subscribe to IQDCalls YouTube channel and click on bell too if you want to get notifications when we put up new vids. Thank